Welcome to this week's episode of Becoming More Me, the podcast for busy-minded, or in the case of this week's episode, ADHD entrepreneurs and professionals who want to be more and do less. I'm your host, Teresa Lear-Levine. I am an EFT master practitioner, a hypnotherapist, an ADHD mom of 4 boys, and this is my journey, as well as I know it is so many of yours. So first and foremost, I want you to understand we are walking each other home here. We are doing this together, and it's my hope today to help you understand how to harness ADHD as a superpower and use different strategies so that you can reframe it from something that many can perceive as limiting into something that can really shape your present and future in a beautiful, beautiful way. So let's get started. It all starts now. So let's dive in first by addressing ADHD itself and the question of, can ADHD be a superpower? For me, that's always been a resounding yes. I have always felt really good aligning with the positive aspects of it more than highlighting the negative aspects of it. That doesn't mean that I don't recognize they exist, and sometimes they can be a little bit daunting, but I've never had any trouble seeing the value in a good hyperfocus or my endless creativity, or even the amounts of energy I have compared to other people, which I attribute all of back to ADHD, which, for those of you who don't know my story, I'm now 46 years old as I'm recording this. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 42. So the diagnosis hasn't been with me all along, but I've always had a knowing that I had a much busier mind and a lot more distractibility, hyperactivity, and even incredible focus power, which I think people overlook a lot from ADHD because we think it's all about distraction. I think it's a lot more about focus, even though one of the main complaints we always hear is I can't focus. But I tell you what, when we are focused, we are focused. So ADHD is so much more than trouble focusing. It's a full set of unique traits that, when harnessed correctly, can help you thrive in ways you never thought possible. And I have some fun stories, some fascinating research, and some real strategies that you can use to turn your ADHD into your greatest asset, which is why I wanted to create this episode today. And especially if you're an entrepreneur like me, a creative, or just someone looking to unlock more of their full potential. And let me just start by saying, I don't love labels, but I do feel like people know what I'm talking about when I say ADHD. So this episode will help you if you are diagnosed ADHD, if you are not diagnosed, and yet you can relate with a lot of the things that an ADHD person might experience because you experience them too. And it'll also probably help you if you don't relate with the label or a lot of the characteristics, and yet you still find yourself having these times where your focus is all over the place, you feel energetically ungrounded, and your productivity feels off. Not to say that productivity is an interesting thing because I don't believe that productivity is the holy grail. I do believe that when we are more grounded, when we can slow down, when we can get out of our head and into our body, we have potential to be so much more. And when we can be more, it doesn't really matter how much we do in the sense of productivity. Things will align so that, we kind of shift into being the source of our time, and so much more can happen without trying to cram it into a 6-hour, 8-hour workday, what have you. And that may just have kind of gone off on a weird track. But all that to say, this should help a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself stuck in that same cycle of trying to fix, air quotes here for anybody who's not watching the video, fix your ADHD. Maybe you've tried to get yourself to focus or be more organized. If you're like me, you've probably purchased hundreds of different planners, notebooks, planning software, whatever the case may be. And it feels like you've always fallen short, no matter what you've tried or attempted to implement. I have totally been there. Again, I was diagnosed when I was 42, and I realized something life-changing. ADHD isn't the enemy, it's my superpower. When I stopped fighting against it and I started working with it, and this also is much like working with my cycle versus working with a male clock of a 24-hour clock. Working with the moon, it's very similar when we work with our ADHD. And also, if you're a woman listening to this who has a cycle, your ADHD and your menstrual cycle are going to do some interesting things overlapping. And when you pay attention to your monthly cycle, your menstrual cycle, you're going to notice that there are times when you can leverage these things better or worse for yourself. I hope that might make sense. That is probably a different podcast episode. I was not planning on doing anything on the overlapping of the cycles, but just want to bring you into the awareness that there are a lot of different things at work and that your ADHD is also affected by different cycles. All right. So I so want for other people who experience this to experience it as a positive, as a great thing, as something they wouldn't want to fix or make go away, even if that was something that you could do. So let's get into it. First up, one of the biggest ADHD superpowers, in my opinion, is creativity. So creativity and divergent thinking. Let's talk about it. Many people with ADHD naturally, we think outside the box. Our brains are wired to see multiple solutions to a problem. This is something known as divergent thinking, and studies back this up. Research from the Journal of Creative Behavior shows that ADHD individuals are often better at generating unique and innovative solutions. So if you're an entrepreneur or in the creative field, this is gold. And this is probably also why so many entrepreneurs are diagnosed ADHD. So the next time that you feel like your thoughts are wandering, don't fight it. Embrace that creativity and grab a notebook, go to the whiteboard, grab your iPad, your Remarkable tab, whatever you like to take your ideas down in, and just let them flow, because you never know what innovative solutions or brilliant ideas you'll come up with. And when you're in that creative space, you're so connected into source. You're so connected with the universe, with abundance, and with flow. When you try to turn it off, when it is begging to be turned on and to flow, you're in resistance. And that is when it feels like ADHD sucks. Because anytime we're in resistance and we're not going with the downstream thought or in the downstream direction, we are making things more difficult for ourselves than they need to be. So creativity, definitely something to explore. Walt Disney, the man who brought us some of the most magical, out-of-the-box stories, was rumored to have had ADHD. His imagination, his ability to see things in ways others couldn't, completely changed the entertainment industry. And how about Salvador Dali, the surrealist artist? His artwork is the definition of thinking outside the box. People had never seen anything like that until he came along and did it. And he is also believed to have had ADHD. So don't fight it, go with it. You've got something on the horizon that perhaps nobody has seen or thought of yet. And it's coming through you. How amazing and magical is that? So I just say, even if you feel like you're not a creative person, I hear people say that all the time. And I'm like, we are of creation. We are created. We are creative. There's no one on this planet that is not creative. So even just saying I'm not a creative person is a resistance to what you are and who you be. So let's move on to the second cool superpower, which is probably my favorite because there's still part of me that just thinks, getting a crap ton of things done in a day is like the most magical, amazing thing. And I just feel like such a badass when I have a day like that. I also honor that not every day is even supposed to be like that. Whereas old me would be upset when I'd have days that felt like they were in the toilet as far as productivity was concerned. New me loves those days for the gems that they are and recognizes that they are just that. They are these rare instances that happen for me 2 to 4 times a month usually. I will have like one of those days where it's like, holy crap, look what I just did. Yesterday was actually one of them for me. And I was amazed at how much I got done. And just, I felt on top of the world. And also, I was physically freaking exhausted by the end of the day. So that is why they're not meant to happen every day. But it did feel really good. So hyperfocus, hidden superpower. Let's talk about it. So it is often thought of as a challenge, but for many of us with ADHD, hyperfocus can be an incredible superpower. It is the ability to lock in, just completely lock in and focus in a way that is like super intense, that the world around you just seems to fade away and it's just you and whatever you're focusing on. Does this sound familiar? Have you been there? I know I disappeared into it in yesterday's super productive day for like a 2-hour period where I didn't even notice time. And I came out on the other side like, whew, that was intense and so cool. And yeah, so it's like the world around you fades away and it's not necessarily easy to control. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go have a hyper focus now. See you in a few hours. You usually don't get any kind of advance notice that it's incoming. And you also don't really know what you might end up hyper focused on. So for me, leveraging hyper focus over the last few years that I've been in greater awareness of my own tendencies looks like starting my day with intention and vision. And when I'm in alignment with my intention and my vision, then I naturally land on things in my hyperfocus that matter instead of like spending 2 hours researching vacuum cleaners or something that's just like a rabbit hole. I can catch myself on those things typically and not get into hyperfocus on the things that are a distraction instead of a contribution. So that is a place where I have leveraged emotional freedom techniques, where I have leveraged hypnotherapy and leveraged elevated consciousness so that I am not being mindless when I'm hyperfocusing or even being mindless about allowing myself to be distracted. So, because that's very much a thing too. Sometimes that is a coping mechanism. Sometimes it's a form of numbing. And the more we can increase our awareness around this, the more we can harness the superpowers and also discharge some of the negative aspects. So just something to keep in mind. So with hyperfocus, we can look at somebody like Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history. He has ADHD, and he credits his hyperfocus with helping him train. He'd spend hours in the pool, just entirely absorbed in his workouts, and his ADHD didn't hold him back. It propelled him to just levels of greatness that we've never seen before in swimming. So if you find yourself in that state of flow, lean in, unless, like I mentioned before, you're flowing with something that is taking you away from purpose, from intention, from alignment. And then also explore it, because it's like you don't want to be in resistance if it feels like flow, but just use your awareness to gauge if you're actually in flow or if you're running away, because there is a difference and sometimes it doesn't feel terribly different. And that is where getting in tune with our body, getting in tune with our energy, understanding ourselves on a deeper level becomes really, really valuable and is so freaking overlooked. Let's talk about another aspect of ADHD that I really love, but that also can be scary and can flip-flop pretty easily from a superpower to something that can be harmful or detrimental. And that is risk-taking. And so I'll lean into like risk-taking and entrepreneurship here. ADHD is often associated with impulsivity and risk-taking. But guess what? these can be strengths, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Studies published in the Journal of Business Venturing suggest that ADHD individuals are more likely to take risks and pursue entrepreneurial ventures. And it's not just about taking risks, it's about how quickly we can adapt and learn from those risks. So take a look at Sir Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group. He's open about his ADHD, and he credits it with giving him the courage to take really big risks. And he started Virgin Records, later Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Galactic, and he was not afraid to fail or try something new. I learned a lot about him when I read his book, which was a really fun read, and I definitely recommend it if you're interested in understanding an ADHD entrepreneur that has been really successful over the years. So that's what ADHD can do for you. It can fuel your innovation, and it can give you the confidence to explore new frontiers. Again, get familiar with your body's cues, get familiar with your intuition, get familiar with your reasons why you are choosing to make decisions or take risks. That's the stuff that typical ADHD people who are not operating from a place of elevated consciousness do. They just take the risk without assessment. ADHD entrepreneurs who are working from a place of elevated consciousness and awareness are going to be more in touch with their body-mind connection, more in touch with their emotions, more in touch with their subconscious patterns, more in touch with any kind of dysregulated nervous system that could be driving their risk-taking, and to recognize that they need to regulate, rewire, rise up a bit, and make decisions from a more rational perspective that can be gained from a more regulated nervous system. So that's something important to keep in mind, because risk-taking for the sake of risk-taking and the adrenaline dump can lead to a lot of regret. Let's move on to the next thing that is really a benefit, I think, of ADHD, and that is emotional sensitivity and empathy. So literally, this is just something a bit more emotional about ADHD. Many of us have heightened sensitivity and empathy. I know I do. I just feel things myself and for others really deeply, and I notice it in some of my kids too. And it's something that I notice a lot of other people don't have, and that doesn't make it's not a better or worse thing. It's just definitely something that I notice. And superpower wise, this makes us great at connecting with others on a deeper level. For me, as the founder of Becoming More Me and working with ADHD entrepreneurs and professionals to create next level lives and businesses, this is a complete asset. I literally would not be as good as I am at what I do without the emotional sensitivity and empathy that I have because of my ADHD and my ability to just energetically hook in and connect to other people's frequencies, to better understand where they're coming from, and to be able to really lift them up, nurture them, and guide them through that and kind of up and out with the emotions to the other side so that we can achieve those next level goals, manifestations, transformations together. So for me, I don't know what I would do without that. It's such an asset for me. So think about, in this case, the example I will use is will.i.am. And he's a musician, for anybody who's not familiar, also an entrepreneur. He's spoken about his ADHD and how it allows him to connect with others, how it allows him to bring more emotion into his music. And it's his superpower in the creative and business world. So if you're someone who leads with empathy, use it. Your ability to tune into others' emotions can help you build stronger, more connected teams. It can help you build deeper client relationships. It can help you with family dynamics. It can help you in your marriage. It can help you as a parent. It can help you as a friend. There's literally no relationship or type of relationship that you can't leverage your ability to tap into emotions on a deeper, more sensitive level. So again, use it. And I'll drop this right here and say that if you're wanting to tap into your emotions on a deeper level, if you're wanting to leverage more of these superpowers in the ways that I'm talking about from the perspective of a regulated nervous system, a subconscious mind that is helping you and not holding you back, and really clear out the past stories, the limiting beliefs, the trauma that is getting in the way of you really dialing in and using your ADHD to your advantage. That's exactly why I do complimentary calls. I do these amazing 15-minute insight calls. You can book one by going to gamechangingconversation.com, and they're literally an opportunity to get some insights from me based on your current personal challenges and know what the next few steps are that are going to help you the most. So if you haven't already taken advantage of hopping on one of these with me, I highly recommend it. And you will have a totally different roadmap and outlook after one. So hop on over to gamechangingconversation.com, book in 15 minutes with me. I cannot wait to get to know you more and to see what kind of suggestions, breakthroughs, and insights I can provide on just a quick call. I look forward to it. Let's move on to the next superpower, which is resilience, as well as adaptability. So this is going to be our last superpower, the fifth of the ones that we are talking about today. And I think it's really the most incredible, honestly. I mean, one of the most incredible ADHD superpowers is resilience, because with the challenges we face with life in general and with ADHD, we often develop a kind of super adaptability. We can bounce back quickly, we can think on our feet, and we can handle fast-paced, ever-changing environments. That's so valuable. David Needleman, who is the founder of JetBlue Airways, attributes his success to his ADHD. He says that ADHD allowed him to create an innovative ticketing system because his mind was always thinking of how things could be done better. He didn't get bogged down by challenges. He simply adapted and he thrived. We don't tend to get really hung up on a particular idea. And I think that also comes back to the other superpower of creativity. Because we're like, oh, okay, so that didn't work. We'll just try this other idea that's like one of 100 that are just bouncing around in our head. And so we don't get quite as attached as people who are less resilient, less adaptable, and less creative. So if you've ever felt like you've had to overcome a lot, take pride in that. Take pride in that. Every one of those things that you've overcome has led you to where you are now. And from here, you're going to wherever you're headed. We're just in that process of becoming all of the time. And your ADHD gives you the adaptability and the resilience that so many people wish they had. I can't say that enough. So many people wish they were this resilient, wish they were this creative, wish they could hyperfocus, and wish that they had the sensitivity, the empathy that those of us with ADHD have. And maybe even wish they had the cojones to take the risks that we have also. So just want to bring some appreciation, some love, and some gratitude to these sometimes overlooked superpowers. And I also want to invite you into my free Becoming More Me community, which is hosted on a platform known as Skool, spelled with a K, Skool. You can easily get access to my Skool community through the link in the show notes, or if you're simply listening and you want to go find it right now, go to www.skool.com/discovery. And from there, type in my name, Teresa, it's with an H, Theresa, Lear, Lear, Levine, Levine. If you type in my name, you will see the Becoming More Me community pop up first. So do that, because if you type in Becoming More Me, for whatever reason, you won't find it. Doesn't make any sense, but that's how it works. So find the community, request to join, and once you get in there, guys, I have I always say I have over $15,000. I have not assessed it lately, and I would guess that it is much closer to $20,000 worth of courses, videos, coaching programs, and things you can do with me. You can do EFT with me in there. You can do hypnotherapy with me in there. You can get access to free coaching, personalized coaching every single week in there, in the classroom and in the discussion board area. And the people in there are amazing. It's a great place to get some accountability and support, which is something that we tend to need as ADHD entrepreneurs and professionals. And I just highly encourage you to check it out. I have been creating things for that community for so long, and it's all in there. And when you join, I'll pop into the DMs over there and I'll make some awesome recommendations for you. You don't need to go plowing through a million things in the classroom. I can tell you like the 3 things that are going to help you right off the bat if you just send me a message. And that's going to get you dialed in, and it's going to get you real results. This isn't about just coming in and consuming some content and hanging out. This is about relationships. This is about action taking, and this is about true transcendence, healing, transformation, manifestation, and next level success that is fueled by pleasure instead of the hustle and strive mentality. And it is all in the Becoming More Me community on School. So if you're not already there, why not? Go on over there, join us, and I can't wait to see you there. So in closing today, I just want to kind of summarize some things. ADHD is more than something that's challenging us. It's definitely a superpower. From creativity to hyperfocus to risk-taking and empathy, it is about learning how to leverage these unique strengths. Remember, people like Walt Disney, people like Michael Phelps, Richard Branson, they didn't just cope with their ADHD. They used it to fuel their massive success. So here's my challenge for you. What ADHD superpower are you going to lean into this week? Maybe your hyperfocus? I'd love to hear about it. Share your thoughts with me by joining my community and sending me a DM, or joining the community and posting there where everyone can read about how things are changing for you and what you're leaning into with your ADHD superpowers. I know that it will benefit more people than you realize. So that's the way it is when we share things that are working for us and when we share our challenges, which is what my community is all about. So thank you so much for listening to the Becoming More Me podcast. And I know you have so many choices when it comes to the podcasts you can listen to. So thank you so much for choosing Becoming More Me. Have a great day. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.